Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. We're looking at my life's verse, Philippians 1:6, as we're going through the book of Philippians verse by verse. My favorite verse, and we look at what God is at work doing. And today we're talking about the good work that God is doing. Yesterday we mentioned that this verse begins being confident of this very thing, that he who began a good work in you, he will perform it until the day of Jesus Christ. We're confident and we can have full assurance that God who began the work in us, he will complete it until Jesus Christ comes. We can live a confident, joyful life despite our circumstances because it's God who began that good work, and we're confident of that very thing. Now, I want to talk about the good work that God is doing even today. And I couldn't help but think about Genesis chapter 1, when every day, the 6 days, and God made, and God made, and God made, and God was pleased with what he made and said it was good. And then in verse 31, then God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. In the evening and the morning were the sixth day. Then verse 2, now listen, at least 3 times we read the word work. Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then verse 3, then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. The work of creation that God began, and God is sustaining that creation. Colossians 1 tells us that it all happened because of Jesus, who sustained it and completely works in it every day. Now listen, also the work of salvation. God began the work of salvation in the Old Testament when he promised in Genesis 3:15 that the seed of the woman would bruise the head of the serpent. And my friend, that work of salvation began. And you know what? Jesus, when he came, if you remember what he said, I came to do the will of the Father. And this is in John 4:34. My food is to do the will of the Father and to finish his work. And then in John 17:4, just before he goes to the cross, Jesus says, I have finished the work which you have given me to do. And then on the cross in John chapter 19, I believe verse 30, Jesus said this, it is finished on the cross. He finished that work. What is the good work of God? The good work of God is the work of salvation. The good work of God is the work of sanctification. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, I looked these verses up, and boy, I got so blessed. And it says, now may the God of peace himself sanctify you completely, and may your whole spirit, soul, and body be preserved blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. Then verse 24, one of the verses I grabbed a hold of as a young Christian, faithful is he who calls you, who also will do it. And then I go back to Philippians, I believe it is chapter 3 or chapter 2, where the Apostle Paul writes to the church at Philippi, for it is God who works in you both the will and to do of his good pleasure. This means everything in your life, your circumstances, your trials, your victories, your struggles is a part of that work. It's God who's working in you and through you, even the hard times. Now, sometimes we think that God is only working when life is going well, but sometimes God does his deepest work through the times of difficulty, and that's when we claim Romans 8:28, for we know that all things work together for good to those who love God. God's shaping our character. He's strengthening our faith, and he's teaching us to trust him. And my friend, there is nothing wasted in your life. Nothing wasted in your life if you belong to Jesus Christ. It's all a part of the good work that God is doing in you today. God bless you as you think about this good work that God is doing for us today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.